Caring too much can feel noble, but it can also feel like drowning. When your peace depends on how others see you, how they treat you, how they respond to you, you've already given them too much power. Buddhism teaches compassion, but not at the cost of yourself. There is a line between love and over-attachment, between being kind and being consumed. And protecting your peace begins with seeing that difference. You don't need to stop caring. You just need to stop over-caring. There's a difference between being present and being pulled, between offering your heart and handing it over. Buddhism reminds us, attachment is suffering. When your emotions are tied to things you can't control, pain becomes a pattern. Caring less doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming clear. You can care deeply and still walk away from chaos. You can love people and still set boundaries they don't like. You can show up fully and still choose peace over being understood. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And if this kind of inner shift speaks to you, subscribe and tap the bell so you remember your peace before the world makes you forget it. When you care too much about being liked, you lose pieces of yourself to please people who don't even see you fully. You bend, you shrink, you overthink every word, every silence. But Buddhism teaches presence, not performance. Your worth isn't proven by how small you can become for someone else's comfort. Protecting your peace means no longer negotiating your value, especially with people who never saw it clearly in the first place. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every comment needs a response. Not every moment requires your involvement. Buddhism teaches non-reactivity. It's not indifference, it's discipline. You don't rise to every invitation to argue. You don't chase every misunderstanding. You don't correct every false assumption. You let some things pass, because your peace matters more than being right. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. No reply, no defense, no explanation. You simply stay rooted in your calm. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much to lose yourself again. Buddhist peace is not passive, it's active restraint. It's choosing presence over performance. It's knowing that silence can say everything you need it to. You don't need to explain your peace to people who thrive in chaos. They won't get it. They'll mistake your distance for disrespect, your silence for weakness, your boundaries for walls. But that's not your problem to solve. Buddhism teaches right view. And sometimes, the right view is walking away without guilt. You're not being cold, you're being clear. You've spent enough time trying to manage how others feel, trying to soften your truth, hide your needs, translate your boundaries into something more palatable. But Buddhism teaches truth as it is, not how others wish it would sound. Your peace isn't a group project. It doesn't need approval. It needs alignment. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is stop explaining yourself. Protecting your peace means accepting that not everyone will understand your silence. Some people only feel safe around noise, control, or drama. When you stop playing their game, they'll say you've changed. But what really changed is your willingness to lose yourself to keep the peace. Buddhism calls this right intention, when you act from clarity, not from fear. You're not withdrawing, you're realigning. Sometimes the shift is invisible to others, but undeniable to you. You stop checking your phone every time it buzzes. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You stop explaining your worth in rooms that never valued you. That's what caring less looks like. Quiet, subtle, freeing. Buddhism teaches that peace isn't something you achieve. It's something you protect, choice by choice, breath by breath. You can't control how people interpret your silence, but you can control why you choose it. Sometimes you go quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because what you could say would cost you more than it's worth. Buddhism isn't about suppressing truth. It's about delivering it in the right time, with the right energy, or not at all. And that choice, that's freedom. There's a kind of strength that doesn't need to be seen. It doesn't argue. It doesn't prove. It simply chooses peace, over and over again. You don't need louder opinions. You need quieter conviction. Buddhism teaches you to sit with your truth until it stops trembling. That's what caring less gives you. Room to breathe, space to return, and the silence to hear yourself again. Some people will call your peace distance. Let them. Some will call your silence coldness. Let them. You're not here to convince the world you're gentle. You're here to become steady, within. Buddhism teaches that attachment to image is just another form of ego. When you let go of the need to be seen a certain way, you make space to be. Not perfect, just present. You're not cold for choosing quiet. You're not selfish for protecting your energy. You're not rude for walking away from what drains you. You're just awake. In Buddhism, awareness is everything. When you become aware of how much something costs your peace, you stop paying for it, even if it once felt necessary. Letting go doesn't always mean losing. Sometimes it means finally coming home to yourself. You stop over-caring not because you've given up, but because you've woken up. Woken up to the fact that not everything deserves your fire. That peace is more important than being understood. That silence is more healing than most conversations. Buddhism doesn't ask you to shut down. It invites you to wake up, to choose presence over approval, clarity over control. You don't care less. You just care better. The day you stop trying to be everything for everyone is the day your peace begins. You realize you don't need to fix their discomfort, calm their reactions, or manage their perception of you. That weight was never yours. Buddhism calls this release, not out of apathy, but out of wisdom. You've learned the difference between love and self-abandonment. Caring less doesn't harden you. It softens your relationship with control. You no longer grip so tightly. You no longer chase every answer. You stop seeking closure in places that were never open. And in that space, where you stop forcing and start flowing, you find something unexpected. Peace that doesn't depend on anyone else understanding it. You didn't lose your empathy. You just stopped leaking it everywhere. You didn't stop loving people. You stopped abandoning yourself to keep them comfortable. This is what Buddhism teaches. Compassion with clarity. Care with boundaries. Connection without collapse. Caring less isn't giving up. It's growing up. It's remembering that your energy is sacred, and you decide where it flows. You don't need to be louder to be clear. You don't need to be everywhere to be enough. You don't need to carry what was never yours to hold. Peace isn't found in proving your heart. It's found in protecting it. Buddhism teaches stillness, not because you have nothing to say, but because your presence says more than noise ever could. Now you know. Caring less doesn't mean you feel less. It means you finally feel free. You didn't stop caring. You just stopped letting everything matter the same. That's growth. That's peace. That's power. You no longer measure your worth by how much you give away. You've learned to care without crumbling, to give without guilt, to love without losing yourself. Now you sit with your silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally said yes to yourself. Where in your life are you still over-caring? And what would protecting your peace look like instead? Write it in the comments. You don't have to explain it to anyone, but name it. That's where the release begins.